Chapter 8, Enhancing Learning with Audio and Visual. The topics we will be covering in this lesson for Chapter 8, Enhancing Learning with Audio, Audio in the Classroom, Enhancing Learning with Video, Video in the Classroom, and lastly, Copyright Concerns. On page 158, you will see the definition for audio literacy. Review the definition given in the textbook. I gave you an additional definition. It says, in other words, audio literacy may be generally defined as the ability to listen and comprehend information that is shared via sound waves. The important thing you need to know about audio literacy, it is not just listening, but it is also being able to comprehend the information and use the information. Students may listen to a recording, but they need to understand and comprehend it. Enhancing learning with audio. Communication and learning processes. Again, it is the hearing and the listening includes speech patterns, identification, and recognition of audio signals, and ends in comprehension. So please make sure that you have reviewed the definitions and the differences between hearing and listening. Also on page 158, you will find visual literacy. Visual literacy encompasses the knowledge and skills needed to consume or meaningfully view video, as well as to produce video to demonstrate knowledge and skills. In other words, video literacy means that students need the skill to learn from video as well as produce video. Remember, they need to learn and produce video. Going to the top of page 160. Ways to use audio to support learning. Hearing impaired students may need closed captioning for audio and video learning. Include text with the video with the audio if necessary. English language learners may need closed captioning also to help them understand the audio. English language learners may need to look at the words as well as hear the words. Also on top of page 160, ways to use audio to support learning. Audio for all learners, students listening to stories, read along with the text with book audio. Audio to assist students reading a book above their grade level, the reading level. Students record reading in order to improve their oral readings, independent reading, and for teacher evaluation. So we have students listening to audio and students producing audio. They can be telling stories, they could be reading their own writings, and the teacher can evaluate the level of the student's reading. Other ways to use audio to support learning. Audio for English language learners. It helps students understand text they are reading with an audio reading. So an English language learner can be reading a textbook and can have audio to go along with it. Audio for advanced learners. Audio will allow students who are more advanced in their classroom than their classmates to go ahead. So students can explore independently audio files like speeches or other subjects for further learning, and they can also create audio files. In the textbook there is a comparison of advantages and limitations of audio in the classroom. I've listed them here. You can read further in the textbook. Quickly going over these is advantages: they are readily available, simple to use, and portable. Inexpensive MP3 files can be put on a computer or mobile devices. Easily reproducible. The teacher can keep the master a copy of a file and reproduce it for their students in many copies. It's stimulating as an alternate to reading and listening to the teacher. Other advantages is students with limited reading ability can read along with audio, can provide current information like broadcasts of live speeches and news reports, and MP3 files are easy to store. We no longer have to store things like vinyl records. But there are some limitations to audio in the classroom. We have copyright concerns, easy to reproduce, and they can lead to copyright violations. At the end of this lecture, we will discuss the copyright concerns. Doesn't monitor attention. Students may listen, but you don't know if they're comprehending. And they may drift away with the listening because it's more difficult because students are working independently. Another limitation is difficult in pacing. Students have different attention spans and abilities for audio comprehension, so the teacher has to be aware of how the students are handling the audio learning. It has fixed content, pre-recorded and fixed, doesn't change. So if the student doesn't understand, it's not like having a real person re-explain it to them and use different words, even though they can stop it and re-listen to it. So these are some of the limitations. Audio in the classroom on page 163. Here we find out that audio can expand and deepen students' learning experiences. And there's a discussion of how teachers can use audio and how students can use audio. And here are some examples, and there's further explanation on page 163. Teacher use. Teacher can prepare recordings, can give students direct instruction. It can be skills practice. Here are the spelling words. This is how you pronounce them. This is how you spell them. Practice listening skills with prepared recordings. Teachers can use it for professional development. They can listen to lectures done by other professionals, and they can evaluate student learning. Teachers can evaluate audios that the students have produced. For students, they can use it for interviews. They can interview other people or experts. They can use it for presentations. They can record on their field trips. They can recite poetry. They can recite audio books and stories. They can record music, oral histories, and stories. When to use audio? Now, you want to read the chart on the page of top of page 163, and you're going to find an example for each topic to the left. So refer back to 163, and when you go to text being read, look at the example of how it's done. Listening to key political speeches, recording impressions, easy access to verbal examples, and listening to an author-read story. Okay? Refer to page 163 for examples. Continuing on page 163, hearing the sounds of nature, listening to an expert, listening to current events, recording personal reading, and look at the examples on page 163. Integration of audio in the classroom. These are some uses of audio. It's unlimited. It can include all phases of instruction. It is self-paced instruction. You can have pre-recorded materials. Audio files can be added to presentations. It can be used by teachers, and it can be used by students. It can be produced by teachers and produced by students. Now we switch to video, using video in the classroom. Video is suitable for all instructional environments, whole group, small group, individual. It extends learning beyond the classroom. You can't take students to the desert, but you can show them on a video. You can't take students to the Sahara in Africa, but you can take them there by video. They can tour. They can go to a museum. They can study objects. They can study large objects. They can study or small objects that are too small. They can see things under a microscope. On page 167, you will find special attributes of video. You want to go to page 167 and 168. Find each attribute listed on this page of video and define and give examples. You should be able to know what is the attribute manipulation of time. What does that mean? Comprehension of time, expansion of time, manipulation of space, and animation. Refer to page 167 and 168. Video formats. Digital video can be manipulated, stored, duplicated, sent from one computer to another, and replayed without loss of quality. If we look here at this graph, we can see that there are two forms of video. Digital video is what we use today, and analog video, which is a video that we found on film and tape. But now today we use digital video, and we can use digital video on a Blu-ray, on a DVD. It can be on a computer. We can stream it from an internet. We can compress it and stream it. So digital format is much more versatile than analog video. Let's look at some types of educational videos. We have documentary. Those are actual or reenacted events. We can't take children back to the Revolutionary War, but we can see reenacted events. We can see people reenact those. Documentaries are facts, true stories, real situations. Dramatizations or historical fiction. They're based on history, but we don't have exactly what the person said. We don't know exactly what they said, but we base it on history. Okay? And as character and attitudes. We have video storytelling. Creativity. Express ideas through stories. Video storytelling is very important for viewing and for creating. Virtual field trips. We can visit hard places to reach. We can build on prior knowledge. If I talk to my students about when I say build on prior knowledge, if I'm teaching a history lesson and students don't know about the area that I'm talking about, maybe it's the Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., we can take students to Ford Theater on a virtual field trip and talk to them about the assassination of Lincoln in the Ford's Theater. Using video in the classroom, page 169, advantages and limitations. Review these in the textbook. Advantages, it has motion, risk-free observation. We can see sharks in the water and not worry about being bitten. Dramatization, effective learning, problem solving, cultural understanding, and establishing commonality. Limitations, fixed pace, yet students can stop if they're watching video individually. On the computer, they can stop it and review it. Talking head, sometimes it's a person just talking on the video. It can become boring. Still phenomena, that means that sometimes it shouldn't be in a video. It should just be a still. Maybe it's a map. Maybe it's a diagram. Something that should be a still, maybe on paper, on the computer, that the student can study, and not in video. Misinterpretation, abstract, non-visual instruction. Sometimes the video is actually too abstract. Sometimes an example would be math problems sometimes are difficult to see in video. Integration of video, page 171. We are teaching a video generation. Viewing, yes. We can take little segments of video, work with students, and integrate them into our instruction. We can use video to adapt lessons for special needs of students, for hearing and visually impaired, and text displays in multiple languages. So we may be looking at a Spanish video with English subtitles, or an English video with Spanish subtitles. Producing, when students produce, they increase their engagement and motivation. We give them higher order thinking skills and problem solving in the production. And planning, use key features that will enhance learning. When you use video, use these key features. When to use video? You need to go to page 172, find an example of each topic to the left. Motion, processes, risk-free observation, dramatization, skill learning, effective learning, problem solving, cultural understanding, and establishing commonality. Review those on page 172. Page 175 to 176. Students learn real-world 21st century skills when they produce video. And if you look at the box in blue, it says viewing and production should directly support lesson standards and objectives. So make sure that everything that you do with the viewing and the production of video actually supports learning. Educational benefits of producing videos. When students produce videos, and I think you found this out when you produced your own video, we have problem solving, scheduling, analysis, research, planning, imagination, communication. And there are an example of projects listed here. You can dramatization, feedback to improve performance. I might have students, if I was teaching a dance class, I would have students dance. They can come back, or a music performance, they can go back and look at it. Or reading, they can watch themselves read. Skills training, documentaries, preserve local folklore, demonstrations, replay of field trips. Lastly, I just want to remind you of copyright issues. And this is about music, because we have to remember that music is highly regulated activity in the realm of copyright law. Of all the things that are highly regulated, music is the most difficult thing to really copy and get away with it. For academic use, you can copy up to 10% of a musical work, all right, but not a performable unit. When they say performable unit, not an album, not a large piece, but a particular piece of work. I can take 10% of it. Single copies of student performances may be made for rehearsal or evaluation. So I can have, if a student sings, or I have a choral sings, we may use it for rehearsal or evaluation, but they're saying don't make multiple copies. Single copies of music owned by a school or teacher may be made for developing oral exercises or assessments. Prohibited. Making an anthology, compilation, or collective work. Making copies of printed music. Oh, we know a lot of teachers have done that. And performing publicly without copyright owner's permission. You cannot take your chorus and have children sing songs without actually owning the music, having paid for the rights to use that music, and copying music from a website is illegal. So these are some copyright concerns. Be aware of them. We don't like to see teachers in jail. Okay, that's it for the chapter.